Thank you very much. And I'd like to say good afternoon, good evening, and good morning as we have many people attending from around the globe today. I want to thank everyone for joining us. We're going to be talking about using self-service to improve and drive customer satisfaction. But more specifically, we're going to be talking about the Pivotal UX Customer Portal. And we have a lot of great things that we're going to be talking about today and a few key concepts that I hope everyone will walk away with a better understanding of. So let's go ahead and get started. A very broad topic to start with. What really drives business? What is the core success to almost any company? It's actually a very simple answer. It's your customers. And not just any customer, but more specifically, happy customers. And is it easy to make customers happy? Not really. It's pretty challenging. And especially in today's world, customers really want information, and they want information right now. And they want quick and easy ways to get access to that information. Not only that, they expect you to provide answers to them in a quick fashion. And when we can't get the answers we're looking for, it makes us more frustrated. And that's really what we're talking about today when we start talking about self-service. We're talking about being able to find and provide information and make that information available to customers to be able to answer their questions as quickly as possible. When we start talking about this concept of self-service, is self-service really a requirement? Not really. But see, it really is today. When you start analyzing the data of what customers' expectations are in today's business world, what we find is that they actually prefer self-service options over many other forms of support. And when we provide those self-service options to them in an easy, intuitive, friendly manner, it makes it even more powerful. Now, these numbers are only going to escalate year after year. And so companies that don't provide self-service options so that customers can get the answers to the questions that they need very quickly are going to find that customers may end up going elsewhere where they can get access to that information. Now, one of the key concepts behind any self-service portal is that it needs to be easy to use. It doesn't matter whether you're using a homegrown website or whether you're using information that's being passed back and forth in emails. Whatever process you're using to provide self-service to your customers, it needs to be very easy to use. And when self-service is done right, it allows customers to find information very quickly. And one of the key things is that a self-service portal can help create a better experience for your customers and drive them to success much faster. And that's one key way to keep customers happy and provide the best customer satisfaction that you absolutely can. Now let's talk about some key concepts around the self-service customer experience. Now these are basically 5 ways, and it really doesn't matter what type of customer self-service solution you might choose to implement, or any type of solution that you would choose to implement really needs to focus on these 5 key areas. The first, make information easy to find. Customers want to be able to access information very quickly, very easily. Now, Pivotal, with its Pivotal UX customer self-service option, uses the UX platform. All right, now some of you may be familiar with Pivotal UX. Pivotal UX by its own nature is an HTML5-based application, very streamlined, very easy to use, and it operates inside a standard internet browser. Because of that, the interface is very streamlined, very user-friendly, and easy to navigate. And those are some of the key concepts that we want to focus on today. But making information easy to find is absolutely critical. I can't imagine that any of us on the phone today have gone out to a customer's website or utilized some sort of web portal and not been able to find what we're looking for. It's not intuitive. I don't know how to log in. I don't have my password, I'm locked out. I mean, any number of possible scenarios. You get frustrated and then you start calling the 1-800 number. Well, we want to alleviate that. And so providing quick access to information, such as being able to look up orders, being able to access literature, press releases, maybe knowledge-based articles, and have that information at your fingertips so that all you have to do is just tap or touch or click tickets or research, and the information that you're looking for is right there. Now, we're going to talk about these concepts a lot more today, but this is just kind of getting us started. So that's one way. Number two is keeping your content up to date. Having a self-service portal really doesn't do you any good if the information that's in there doesn't reflect what the customer is expecting to see. The customer places an order, that order should be visible inside their self-service portal. If they create a ticket, they should also be able to see the ticket that they just created in the self-service portal. This is one key area where the Pivotal UX self-service portal is really outstanding because it's your data. It's Pivotal. It's riding and operating on top of Pivotal, which means that when something is updated inside of Pivotal, customers can view that information instantaneously based on changes and updates that actually occur in Pivotal, keeping your system very, very up to date. In addition to that, you'll be able to do things like create self-service reports. So customers that log into the self-service portal will have the option to be able to search for information, which we'll look at a little bit later, but they'll also be able to run reports. By going to any search result list inside the system, they'll be able to select one or multiple entries. And if they do a hard press, if they're on a touch-enabled device, or do a right click, they'll have a selection of options that become available to them. And you can just select Run Report, and a pop-up will occur with the report and the data that you've actually specified. Now, what this means is if I want to have a report run on a number of tickets that I have outstanding in the system so that I can review them, maybe show them to other coworkers internally, I can do that very quickly, very simply, very easily. Very intuitive, easy to use. You'll also be able to do the same type of feature function with literature access, and also the ability to provide product feedback. That goes right hand in hand with keeping your content up to date, because you'll be able to interact with your customers. They'll be able to enter information into the Pivotal UX self-service portal. You'll be able to read that information and collect it. So it provides you a communication gateway to interact directly with your customers. Number three, provide an intuitive, easy-to-use interface. And again, it doesn't matter what type of self-service system or portal you're using. These three, in addition to two more that we're going to take a look at, are key criteria to making your system successful. We want to be able to provide an intuitive, easy-to-use interface that allows us to be able to interact, not only interact, but to be able to view information. Make it easy for them to be able to create new tickets by just selecting tickets and selecting new tickets. Be able to run searches in the system, or be able to look up knowledge-based articles very simply and very easily. And we're going to talk about both of these processes today. But the way the menus are operated inside of Pivotal, it's very clean, it's very straightforward, and they have very specific actions and options that they're granted access to make navigation very simple and very easy. Number four, you need to make your self-service platform available across all device types. It needs to be available for desktop users or laptop users. It needs to be available for people that want to access via their smartphone, or people that want to access via their tablet. Now, the Pivotal UX self-service portal is built right on top of the Pivotal UX platform. And as I mentioned earlier, Pivotal UX is an HTML5-based application that runs inside a standard internet browser. Now, what that basically means is that you can run this on any device type with a standard internet browser. So whether you're running it on a desktop or a laptop or a smartphone or a tablet, it makes no difference. And what we'll look at today is utilizing the responsive design features of Pivotal UX. We can cater a very specific environment for people to access the system while using their smartphone, meaning they'll get a very specific view of information that is easy to read and easy to navigate and easy to understand, even though they're accessing it from either a smartphone, from a tablet, or from just a laptop or a desktop PC. Number 5 involves branding. And this is a very important concept. You want to be able to make your customer self-service portal your own. When your customers log into a self-service portal, chances are they may not know who Pivotal is. They may not have even heard of Aptian. We'd like to believe that they've heard of Pivotal and Aptian, but they're your customers. So when they log into your customer self-service portal, they would like to believe that they're logging into you. It's an extension of you. And so one of the things that we can do inside of Pivotal UX, as well as within the Pivotal UX self-service portal, involves branding. That means that you can make it your own. So the login screen that we see over here on the right-hand side of the screen, I can change that to be anything that I like. And that allows me to brand this product so that when somebody logs into it, they believe that they're logging into an extension of ourselves. And literally, we can change logos, we can change background colors, we can change colors, we can change designs, and not just to the extent of the login page. Now, some of you may have attended other webinars that we've done in the past, and we've spent time talking about how you can rebrand Pivotal UX. Suffice to say, you can change colors, you can change background colors, you can remove all logos, you can add your own logos, you can brand the entire Pivotal UX application any way you see fit. We're not going to go into those types of details today, other than to say that it absolutely can be done. But branding is a very important concept because it helps make the self-service portal your own. Because when customers log into it, they're logging into you, and you want to be able to make sure that you're representing your brand as best as you can. Now, these 5 topics are very critical in implementing any type of self-service solution. And Pivotal UX self-service portal provides all of these capabilities rolled into one simplified package. And that's one of the key things that we want to kind of make clear today. So what I'd like to do now is take a little bit of time and talk about some of the key features inside of the self-service portal. After that, we're actually going to go through a live demonstration to take a look at a few features inside of the application itself. And by the time we get to the end of the webinar today, we'll open it up to any general questions that anyone might have. But for right now, let's talk a little bit about the user experience. When you first log in to the customer self-service portal, you basically log into from your laptop or a desktop machine. You log in through an internet browser. We'll talk about the login process here in just a little bit. But for right now, once you actually log in, you'll have a wealth of information available to you. And one of the things that we really strive to do is to make this very, very easy to access and very easy to understand. So you'll notice that there are icons that are listed here amongst all of these different categories of information. So we have, for instance, my company's new open tickets. We can see my new and or open tickets. I can see relevant KB articles, or I can see recent orders. This is information that customers are typically eager to find, and you want to make that information easy to find. I don't want to see all orders. That might be too many. If I've been a customer for a long time, there could be hundreds of orders. I don't want to see hundreds of orders on my dashboard. I want to see recent orders, maybe orders within the last 30 days, or maybe orders within the last 3 months. Those are the types of things that customers want to be able to see. Now, you can obviously, because it's Pivotal UX, configure a different view of information based on your own specific needs and requirements, but our out-of-the-box templates provide some of this work and having done that for you in advance. So back to the icons. The icons actually provide us a lot of information without having to read a lot of information. And that graphical interface, that graphical interaction with any type of system that you use today is absolutely here to stay. I mean, people want to be able to view information. They want to be able to interact with their CRM system. And this information needs to be brought to them without a lot of effort. I don't want to read pages of information. Just tell me the information as quickly as possible. And icons can help me to do that. So I can represent various key statuses in the system. So right off the bat, I can see those service tickets that are absolutely critical, maybe identified by a red exclamation point. Or maybe I'm just asking a question and I can recognize that as a question mark. So I know that that's a question that somebody's going to be responding to. That helps twofold. It helps both internally, I can recognize that as a question, but then the customer also recognizes that as a question as well. Now, the icons are very configurable, and Pivotal UX out of the box provides thousands of icons to actually choose from. But these are some of the default ones that we've chosen for the application itself. Now, in addition to just being able to use icons to be able to display that information, you can use icons to show different types of statuses, such as when an order has been placed or when an order has recently been shipped. And I can very quickly see what's been ordered or what's actually been recently placed and what's actually recently been shipped. I can also use to identify relevant and determine the relevancy of knowledge base articles. It's not enough for me to basically see that there are knowledge base articles available for me to read. I would like to know which knowledge base articles are most relevant to me. And so icons can help identify that. There's logic in the back end that actually reads the keywords associated with my service ticket that I've actually entered in the system. And those keywords can match up and basically tell me, is this an article that matches what my particular issue is? And so a thumbs up is a pretty good indication that I should be taking a look at this specific knowledge base article. So a lot of information can be displayed directly on the dashboard. And the dashboard is not just a bunch of pretty pictures. All of this information, I can interact with it very easily. Over on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see ticket status, little graphical widget that I have over there. Ticket status allows me to drill into that information by simply doing a click of the mouse or a tap with my finger if I'm on a touch-enabled device. A submenu pops open for me, and that submenu will display the details underneath that specific category. So these are all tickets that are currently open inside the system itself. Now, the information that's being viewed on this dashboard is relevant to my company only. So there is a lot of filtering that's going on in the back end to be able to produce these views of information. So I can only view my company information as a customer. I can't view anyone else's information, so it's completely and utterly segmented. So when I click on ticket status, I'm only viewing open orders for my company in this particular view. Again, very clean, very simple. In addition to being able to use this as a navigational aid so that I can drill down into the details of these tickets by just selecting something within a particular graphical widget, I can also just tap or do a hard press on the screen itself if I'm on a touch device, and I can get a pop-up which tells me what the data actually is. So in this case, I'm looking at $137,500. It also tells me the date that that order was actually placed. Now, the order timeline serves as a way for me to gauge my orders throughout the entire year. So I can actually see when the dates and times of the orders were actually placed. This does two things. It provides a history tracking for me, very graphical, very visual, right on the main dashboard. But it also alerts me that, hey, it might be time to place another order again based on the visual reference on the screen itself. And this is just the main dashboard we're looking at. Now, one other key concept that we talked about earlier was the ability to make navigation as easy as possible. Now, on the left-hand side of the screen here, we can actually see a number of tabs that are present there: tickets, orders, research, and even one called Action Center, which is our main dashboard that we were just looking at. If I select tickets, for instance, I'll actually be able to pull up a submenu, which offers me a couple of very easy to understand options. I can quick search for information, which allows me to basically run a search inside of Pivotal. I can create a new ticket, or I can access information in what we call the service board. Now, we're going to come back and talk about the service board in a little bit, but the ability to come out and just create a quick search here allows me to just select quick search. From there, it will basically take me to a search page where we've populated a number of predefined fields. Now, these predefined fields are, of course, going to be based on your Pivotal data so that the information that's most pertinent to your customers is going to be displayed here. But the idea is that you're giving them very quick access, very quick fields to be able to select on. Now, when I pull up something like customer contact, for instance, I'm only pulling up those contact records that are associated with my company because we're filtering that data down to this specific level. So I can select a record such as maybe John Black, and then all I have to do is come over here to the right-hand side of the screen, hit search, and the search results will pop up on the screen for me based on the criteria that I've actually selected above. Again, very clean, very simple. Another option is to use the service board, which I mentioned earlier. Now, the service board is built off of functionality that we've launched in previous versions of Pivotal. And the service board is really all about providing a dashboard, card-based view of information. And this is an incredibly popular feature set that is growing across any type of platform that you are implementing today. People are really looking at graphical ways of representing information, and the service board is absolutely a way to do that. So if I go ahead and select service board, the service board is going to provide me with a card-based view of information. And it does a couple of different things, and it does them very well. It categorizes all my information by status, so we can see critical tickets, serious tickets, normal tickets, or minor tickets. We'll also be able to perform various actions where we can filter based on a particular status in the system. We'll also be able to choose things like date ranges, so I can say, okay, I want tickets that were created after this date, but before this date. And by selecting those various options, the information on the screen will automatically be filtered based on what we've actually selected. Some of you have seen this functionality before, something we've released similarly in our sales application as well. And it's also in our customer service UX application. And some of the same functionality does exist. You'll see a little spyglass down there in the lower right-hand corner of each one of these tickets. And if I just tap on that spyglass, it's going to open up a modal window for me that's going to show me what we call the service preview. The service preview is going to pull up key information about that specific ticket, and it's also going to point out additional activities that have taken place and the status of those specific activities. So if we have a number of pieces of interaction that are going back and forth with the customer, where we suggest the customer tries step A, the customer says step A unfortunately did not work, then we fire back and say, okay, why don't you try step B? We can keep track of each one of those steps so that the customer has a written log of everything that's transpired within that specific ticket, and they know exactly where they are. And the reason why that's available to us in kind of a preview pop-up is it just makes navigation in the system so much easier. I don't want to have to open up a record when a modal window can pop up for me and give me the information that I need. It also frees me up from searching on other tickets inside this particular view. So I can stay inside the service board, find the information I need, and keep on searching for other critical pieces of information inside the service board itself. What I'd like to do now is take a look at a live demonstration of the Pivotal UX customer portal. So I'm going to go ahead and switch gears here just a little bit. And to do this, I'm actually going to start out by demonstrating some key pieces of functionality from my smartphone. I love demonstrating Pivotal UX on my smartphone because I really like it. It's clean, it works very well. And if you can do just about anything on a smartphone, making it available on much larger screen real estate space is an even easier task. So I'm not using any type of emulation in case anyone on the phone has not seen me do this demonstration before. I'm actually standing in front of my desk and actually using a live smartphone to be able to perform this task. So I'm going to go ahead and log into the Pivotal UX self-service portal. As you can see, I've rebranded the login page, so it's just something that anybody could populate in there. One key differentiator that I'll point out here is that underneath the sign-in button on the screen, you'll see something that says demo. And that is an option that you can enable inside of Pivotal UX if you want to have a standard demo user available. The reason why I'm only calling this out to attention is that in a normal production environment, that would be disabled, so you would not see that demo login capability. Your users that have access to the system only need to come out and put in their username and password. If they can do that, they can select their username and password. I happen to have my password saved in my phone, and so all I have to do is come out and just type sign in to be able to access the system. Because it's Pivotal UX, it's fast, it's clean. Within just a couple seconds, I can log into the system itself, and some of this information should look very familiar. Now, what we were looking at before, when we were looking at that large screenshot of the system, Pivotal UX has now taken that image that we saw, that very large image, and basically unified it and formatted it so that it fits very neatly, smartly on my cell phone. So from here, we can go out to the Action Center and I can view the same information that we had access to in the desktop version itself. So from here, I can see all my service tickets and I can see the statuses of those service tickets. There's a little arrow down at the bottom portion of the screen that allows me to navigate through the different dashboard elements that I have defined in the system. So now I can see not only my entire company service tickets, but I can see my new open service tickets as well. I can also come out here and take a look at relevant knowledge base articles in the system. And I can even come out and review recent orders. And I can see what orders have recently been placed, what orders have been shipped. And we'll come back and take a look at these in just a little bit more detail. Now, over here on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll actually see 3 tabs close to the top menu bar. And if I just tap on those 3 tabs, a little submenu pops open for me. Now, that submenu looks very familiar to some of the screenshots that we looked at earlier, and it allows me to navigate to other aspects within the application. Now, the reason why that submenu is hidden is because we just don't have that much screen real estate space within the smartphone itself. So if I just tap on that, I can make the menu pop open, or the menu can be subtracted so that I have more screen real estate space to be able to work with. But if I just tap on any of these items here within the portal itself, you'll see that I can perform searches, I can create a new ticket, I can even go out to the search board, or I can even do research directly from here and look up knowledge base articles or collateral. Now, a lot of this information is already being displayed inside the dashboard itself. So I don't necessarily have to search for information or even look up knowledge base articles because Pivotal has already provided me that information inside of my dashboard. But if I wanted to look up some history or really narrow down my search criteria in the system, I can very easily do that by coming over here, selecting tickets, and going to Quick Search. Quick Search will allow me to be able to filter content in here so that I can come through and say, okay, I want to take a look at tickets for John Black, and I'm only interested in those that were entered in after August 1st. So just a couple of taps with my finger, and boom, I'm pulling up the information very quickly and very easily inside of the UX infrastructure. Now, I can also go right back to our main dashboard and pull up the same information. Now, one of the tickets that came up in our search was actually ticket number 315 that had to do with shipping damage. I can open up that ticket either from the search that I ran, or I can open up that ticket directly from here inside the dashboard. So if I just touch on that specific ticket, it'll open up the ticket for us and then we can review the information from here. Now, since this is a service ticket, there's going to be service-related information that's being displayed here. Along the top portion of the screen, we'll be able to see the status, the name of the ticket. We'll also see some options, which I'll talk a little bit about later, such as creating new activities and even closing out this ticket. But more importantly, we'll see a description of exactly what's transpired. And what's interesting about the description is if I just tap in the upper portion of here, we can actually review the details of that specific ticket. And as I scroll down through here, we'll actually be able to see an image preview of what's going on within this specific ticket. Now, the image preview allows a customer to be able to upload a specific image and or images into the ticket itself. And you can set it up so that the image shows up as a preview when you first open up that specific ticket so they can describe what the image actually, or what the issue actually is. In this case, it has to do with shipping damage, and they're showing us a picture of the actual damaged product that they received. I also have options to be able to record additional ticket activity down here, as well as additional attachments. But we can have different types of attachments, not necessarily just photos, but we can certainly include photos. And you can include the photos so they show up inside the preview when you first open up the ticket itself. It can be a very uh, good way to kind of enhance and get details right to the forefront so people can actually view them very quickly. But it's a very clean and simple interface for being able to capture information inside of Pivotal. Now, let's say we wanted to review some information in a knowledge base article that was pointed out to us. It had something to do with our ticket. And so one of the ways that we can access that is to come out here and go back to the dashboard. And from the dashboard, we had access to knowledge base articles. And there was a knowledge base article that was specifically called out to us as having been something that we should take a look at, knowledge base article 22. It has to do with our shipping damage. So if I go ahead and open up that knowledge base article, it'll give me a description of the actual article itself and the resolution for that specific problem that we're actually seeing. But more importantly, as I scroll down through the bottom of the screen here, we can also include additional documentation and attachments. So if I want to get the instructions for how to solve this particular issue, all I have to do is just tap on that link and it'll pop open that information for me automatically. And this is just a document that you can store in any number of different sources. If you want to store these types of documents in some type of a document repository or some other external database, or just directly in Pivotal, you can do any or all of those different types of options. But it makes it very easy for you to be able to send information and interact with your customers directly from within this interface. When they're done reading this information, all they have to do is just hit the back button and it immediately takes them directly back into Pivotal. Now, if we go back to our dashboard again, in addition to being able to take a look at knowledge base articles, and in addition to being able to look at service tickets in the system, we can also review information about recent orders that may have been placed. So let's take a look at this recent order that was shipped to us and see when that shipment is due to arrive. And so when we pull up the shipment information, it'll give us key pieces of information such as maybe where it was shipped and the time and date that it was actually ordered. But if I go down here a little bit further, it'll give me the time that it was actually shipped, and it will give me an estimated arrival of the shipment plus the tracking number so that I can actually go out and view what the shipment details of that actually are. But all of the relevant information that we want to include for this order is automatically included in here, such as the products that we actually ordered and the times and the dates and the values of those various products. Keeping in mind that your data that you display in here for your customers could be based on different things. The idea is, though, that if you want to share order data, you have the option to share as much or as little order data as you want to make your customers' experience that much more valuable. Now, we've looked at a lot of viewing of content, especially within the smartphone interface. What about creating content? If I come out here and I select tickets again, and I select that I want to create a new ticket in the system, I can just select new ticket. And when I create a new ticket in the system, it's going to pre-populate some of the information. For instance, who the customer is. It actually already knows who the customer is because I've logged in as the system. And it's going to populate some dates and some times. Now, the first date that it populated was today's date, which is the 27th, and the time, which is 1:34 p.m. Central Standard Time. Now, it gave us a response required date, which is by tomorrow, and that's based on the SLA that we have, the agreement that we have in place that for this particular type of response, we need to respond by tomorrow. Now, your SLAs might be a little bit different, but just keep in mind that we can keep track of that information and then apply it automatically to tickets so that we have a response sequence set in place. And if we miss those response dates, tickets can be escalated. And that's typically controlled through the customer service application within Pivotal itself. But all of those attributes, all of that business logic within the customer support application is applicable to this self-service portal as well. Now, we talked a little bit about the image preview earlier, and this is where a customer can come out and just upload an image. So they can go out to their phone's library, which means that if they want to take a picture to be able to include it, they can actually go out to their just take it with their smartphone. They go out to their photo library inside their smartphone and just select a photo and populate it in there. and it will basically just take that photo and populate it directly inside the ticket itself. You can also come down here and give some information about the type of ticket. Maybe it's just an enhancement or a defect or a complaint, or they want some information. Maybe it's just a general question. You can also choose what type of product it is. And of course, this is all based on the information that you would contribute into your CRM application. And all we have to do is just place a name for the actual ticket itself and a brief description, apply any other attachments in there, and just hit the check mark at the top of the screen. It's literally that simple to be able to create a ticket in the system and start the process of being able to help and support our customers that much more easily. It's very clean, very simple, and that's one of the key things that we wanted to talk about today, is its very simple and clean nature. So I'm going to go ahead and switch gears here. I want to talk a little bit about our desktop solution. So what the system actually looks like when we have a little bit more real estate space available to us. So if we go into Pivotal, again, this time on the desktop side of things, you'll see that our screen size is much larger. And all I have to do to access the system is be able to go ahead and sign into it. Takes a couple seconds to actually go through the login process, but once we are actually logged into Pivotal, you'll see that this view is very familiar. We looked at a screenshot of this exact view just a little earlier. And a lot of the same functionality that we saw in the screenshot, as a matter of fact, exactly the same functionality exists in this system. So we still have our icons, which designate our different statuses that we're actually looking at here in the system. We can still navigate and access all of the key pieces of information, from our company's tickets to my tickets to relevant KB articles and recent orders that we've actually placed. And I can come over here to our graphical widgets that we actually have set up, so I can see all of our open tickets, all of our new tickets, all of our closed tickets, and be able to select these and have that modal pop-up come up that actually shows me all of those tickets that are actually present there. And as we saw earlier too, I can come down here, and if I just highlight my mouse over any part of our order timeline down here, it'll tell me the exact date and the actual exact order amount that was placed on that specific date. We can actually track that information easily in the system as well. Coming over here to the left-hand side of the screen, I have options to be able to select and come out and do a quick search in the system, or to be able to create a new ticket, or to access our service board, or even come down and select research by going up and viewing information within our knowledge base or our collateral library that we actually have access to inside the system as well. So these are all places that I can actually navigate directly inside of Pivotal. But let's come out here and take a look at the service board. So if I come out here to the service board itself, I'll actually be able to pull up and view information inside the service board. And what we couldn't see in the PowerPoint presentation is just how useful this service board actually is. It allows me to come out here and I can choose from a number of predefined queries. And these queries are limited based on the amount of information we want our customers to be able to view. But it allows me to filter content in here and or access more content by selecting that I want to view, for instance, all tickets. Keeping in mind that when I select all tickets, it's still only going to display those tickets that are relevant to me, meaning my company. And so I'll pull up all tickets, and it will, of course, pull up all tickets in the system itself. Over here on the right-hand side of the screen, I have the option to filter this information. And so I can pull up my filtering options. And this allows me to be able to say, okay, I want to filter this content based on what's currently open. And so I can filter based on that, and it will remove a few entries, but not very many. Maybe I want to filter further on just John Black, and so I can filter based on that. And again, it filters out a few, but not that many. But if we come out here and say, okay, I really want to minimize this, I'm looking for a very specific and recent ticket, I can come out and say, okay, let's take a look at data from August 1st moving forward, and now filter based on that content. And from there, we've now limited our search criteria down to just a couple of tickets that were created after August 1st. Now, as we saw earlier, we can actually come out here and we'll have the ability to select the little icon here in the lower right-hand corner, which will allow me to basically pull a pop-up view. This gives me access to the details of that ticket without actually having to go into that specific ticket itself. And that can be very handy and very beneficial to be able to access that information. But it also allows me to be able to access the ticket itself. And so one of the things that I can do is just double tap if I'm on a touch device, or basically double click, and it will actually take me directly into that ticket. Now, this is the same ticket that we were actually looking at on the smart device. The only difference is that I now have access to more screen real estate space, so I can see more information. And Pivotal recognizes that and understands that, and so it makes information on the screen that much larger, but it's the exact same data that we were currently looking at before. Now, one of the key things that I hadn't touched on before, which I want to touch on now, are the navigational icons at the top portion of the screen. Now, the navigational icons up here allow me to access key aspects within the customer self-service portal. It allows me to create new activities. So we see ticket activity down here, basically service steps. And we can, as a customer, create additional service steps, and the service steps that we're tracking internally using the customer support module inside of Pivotal will also be displayed here as well. But customers may be performing actions on their own, and so they can create a new activity by selecting new activity. They can choose to preview the details of that activity or the details of the ticket itself, just as we saw earlier when we clicked on the service board. We could see the details of the ticket. By clicking preview, it's going to basically give me a preview of all the activities that have happened within this particular ticket. Or we have the option to close this out at any point. If we've actually found our resolution, we've defined what the issue is on our own, resolved it. If we use the information that was provided to us and we resolved it, that's perfectly fine as well. Either way, we have the option to actually close that out. And these options are also available to us on the right-hand side of the screen. If I click on the little three dots over here, you'll see I have the option to add a new activity, preview the ticket, and or close the ticket. And this is also where I can access ticket reports, which we saw earlier today as well, if you wanted to generate a report based on this specific ticket or on multiple tickets inside the system itself. So I wanted to take a little bit of time to kind of discuss some of the intricacies of that during the live demonstration. I'd like to jump back to our PowerPoint demonstration and talk about a few key administration features. And these are also critical to any customer self-service application. Let's talk about setting up a Pivotal external user. So there's some new functionality that's available, and this is built off of the user management module. Now, not everybody may know this, but last year we released the Pivotal user management module, which allowed us to be able to provide a lot of these capabilities that we're looking at today. Most importantly, it allowed us to be able to create additional users in the system that could be able to have access to Pivotal. Now, the customer self-service portal added to that because now we can actually have external users, meaning users that are not employees of our company, actually access the data within the CRM system. So underneath user management, you'll have the ability to create new users. You'll also have the ability to search users, and you'll have the ability to handle some configuration options in the system. But what's really involved in creating a new user is setting up a login name for that user and determining the user type. Most typically, it's going to be an external user. And we have one other key stipulation, that an external user does need to be linked to a contact record inside of Pivotal. So you'll see that field there called linked contact. And that's the very first thing that you'll establish inside the system. You'll actually choose a contact record inside of Pivotal. Choosing that contact record will actually pre-populate first name, last name, and email address automatically inside the system itself. Once that process is done, you can define the security groups that you want this particular external user to have access to. Out of the box, it's typically going to be the UX customer portal user, but you can add and remove capabilities from that security group. You can also create your own custom security groups to provide the level of access that your customers need. Keep in mind that everything that we've talked about today is just the out-of-the-box template features. You can certainly use as many of those as you like, but you can also add to those and remove from those depending on what your specific requirements and needs are. The last step in the process, and this is the greatest step as far as I'm concerned, because once we get to this step, automation takes over for us. So we do need to relate this to a contact inside of Pivotal and provide a login name for that particular user. But once I set it to send the login email, the process is now going to be much more automated from that standpoint. So I'll be able to click on send login email, and an email is automatically going to be generated out of Pivotal. Now, the email that's generated is based on content that you choose. So the wording, the messaging, the logos, whether or not you want to provide a contact number in there to go back to your customer support service. The main idea is that you're sending the link to finish up setting up their account. And what the final step that needs to be completed is the creation of a password. And so you can have any type of welcome message you want in here. And so once you've actually sent this email, all they have to do is click on that link, and it will automatically take them to a screen that allows them to change their password. Now, there's a lot of information around the ability to create and change passwords, especially for external users. First and foremost, passwords must contain at least 8 characters, but it gets a lot more intricate than that. You also, by default, now these are default options inside of Pivotal. By default, you must include at least 3 of the following character types: uppercase, lowercase, number, and special character. So you must have at least 8 characters. You should not contain the username or parts of the username or user's full name, because Pivotal will filter those out too and tell you not to use those as part of your password. You must also use at least 3 of the 4 available character types. Again, uppercase, lowercase, numbers, and symbols. And if that's not enough for you, you can create your own custom password configurations based on your own defined criteria inside of Pivotal. And the other thing that we support is SHA 256 password encryption. So there's a lot of flexibility and configurability in setting up and maintaining passwords for security of the access of your external users. You'll also be able to get a message pop up that says when you finally have met all of these criteria, which can take some doing. Sometimes it takes me 2 or 3 times to actually set a password right, and it's so secure that even I can't remember it. So I guess that's one of the best ways to do that. It tells you that your password has been successfully set. So all you have to do is click OK to continue and sign in. When you select OK, the system is going to pre-populate your user ID and pre-populate your password within the browser window itself. And all you have to do is hit sign in, and you can log into the application. But let's say that you haven't logged into the application for quite some time, and of course nobody has done this before, forgot your password. If you forget your password, all you have to do is select the link at the bottom of the screen that says forgot your password. When you select that link, a password recovery screen actually pops open for you. And from within the password recovery screen, you have the option to type in your email address, and it will send an email to the email address that matches. If those 2 match up in the system, you will receive an email address. Or receive an email message very similar to the one that we actually saw earlier a couple of slides back. And the message is a little bit different because it basically says, you've asked to reset your password. Basically, please click on the link to follow the password reset process. And you kind of go through that process again. So there's an option for setting up users. There's an option to help users that have forgotten their passwords. And it's an automated process once their account has been established inside of Pivotal itself. So let's take a little bit of time to talk about some administration features outside of setting up passwords and setting up users. Now, there are some day-to-day activities that you may need to do in order to be able to maintain the users inside of Pivotal. And we've made that process as simple as we possibly can. And we've included a lot of batch actions, what we call batch actions inside of Pivotal itself. And these batch actions allow you to do things like update security groups. Now, when I call this a batch action, what I'm really talking about is the ability to actually multi-select. So it's not setting a security group for an individual user. I'm selecting maybe 10 or 20 users and doing a batch edit for those specific users. So I can add all of these 20 users to this one security group. But in addition to that, I'll be able to do things like update languages. So if I want to modify the default language for a select set of individuals, I can do that directly from here as well. Now you might ask yourself, how do I access this menu that pops open here? Well, this is a context menu that pops open inside of Pivotal and Pivotal UX. It's actually a bit of a secret because a lot of people don't know how to access the context menu. It's very simple. You right click with your mouse or you do a hard press if you're on a touch screen, and that menu will pop open. The reason why it's kind of secretive is if you're on a browser and you right click, usually you get a whole bunch of weird options available to you. But in Pivotal, you do not. You get useful things like options that you can use and operate every single day. In addition to being able to set languages, you'll also be able to do things like delete users in bulk directly from within the Pivotal UX interface. You'll also be able to lock users and or unlock users. A lot of times, if someone has logged into their account 3 times unsuccessfully, they may end up locking out their account, which can be reset over time automatically, but they may need to be reset faster than that so someone can come in and actually unlock their account or multiple accounts at any one particular time. You'll also be able to send and resend login emails directly from here within this interface. The point being is you don't have to go into each individual profile and select send login details. You can select multiple users here and select send login email, and it will generate 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 or 25 or whatever the number of email login requests to actually go out from there. Now we've covered a lot of different topics today. And one of the things that I want everyone to walk away with is, why would you take a look at Pivotal UX Customer Portal? I mean, what's really the main takeaway from today? And one of the key things, one of the really, really, really key things that makes the customer or the Pivotal UX Customer Portal critical is its simplicity. We've simplified the entire process. This is running on your instance of Pivotal, and it has very simplified user interface. It's very intuitive, very advanced. It makes finding information very easy, and you can enhance it any which way you see fit. But simplicity is really a key aspect of why you would want to choose the Pivotal UX Customer Portal. Another key aspect is ease of access. And this goes back to what we were talking about earlier. We want to be able to access this information from any device type, whether it's a desktop, whether it is a mobile device such as a tablet or a smartphone. We want ease of access across all those platforms, and it needs to be seamless access. And that's something that we demonstrated today. We went from a smartphone interface to a desktop interface and everything in between today, and it was virtually seamless in how we actually access the system. And so ease of access is another key takeaway for why you should choose Pivotal UX Customer Portal. Another one is the ability to brand it your way. If you want to change logos, if you want to remove every aspect of Pivotal from the Pivotal application, you can do that. You can change the color scheme so they match your website. You can get rid of all of the Appian or Pivotal logos, and you can replace them with your own corporate logos. So you can brand it your way so that when customers come to access your portal, because essentially it is your portal, they are getting their information from you, which is the way it actually should be. But you can brand it your way, and we looked at that today quite a bit. And the last and the most important is it's your data. This is not using a third-party application. This is not having to do some fancy integration in the back end that batch processes data nightly to be able to produce the views of information, or running SQL data queries to mine data from various sources. This is running on top of Pivotal. When you make changes inside of Pivotal, those changes are reflected inside the customer portal. It's that simple. It's your data. It's all running Pivotal together. Everyone sees the same information at the same time. And that is absolutely critical when you're operating a self-service customer portal. Everyone's on the same page. Everybody can see the same information, but it's your data inside of Pivotal. You're just allowing external parties to access key aspects of that information. All right, so we talked about a number of things today. We have a few minutes until the top of the hour. But one of the things that I wanted to mention is that for those of you on the phone that do not know, Appian has a CRM conference that is coming up, and it's actually coming up pretty fast. We've been talking about this conference for a number of months now, and it always seems like it is further away than it actually is, but now it's really right around the corner. So October 22nd through 24th is the date of the actual conference, and it's going to be in Dallas, Texas. And the location is the Westin Dallas Downtown Hotel. So anybody that is interested in attending that conference that doesn't already know about it, I would absolutely recommend that you reach out to your Pivotal account representative and ask them for the details on the conference. We would love to have as many people attend the conference as we possibly can. It's going to be a great time. We have a number of wonderful topics that we're going to be discussing this year, and we have some great events planned as well. So if anybody's interested in some additional information about the Appian CRM conference, by all means, feel free to reach out to your account representative, and we'd be more than happy to get you some more detailed information about that. At this point, I'd like to open it up to any questions that anybody has about anything that we discussed today. I do believe we have a couple of questions that have been asked for us. One question is, what tool is used to build the reports? And that's a great question. The reports that are actually being generated inside of Pivotal UX, as well as Pivotal, are built on the Crystal Reports platform. So there's actually a couple of good reasons for that. So one, a lot of our customers are already using Crystal Reports. Secondarily, you may have already created some reports. Those reports can be run directly from the Pivotal UX interface so that they basically are made available to your customers if you should want to do that. But it's based on the Crystal reporting structure that already exists inside of Pivotal today. Oh, there's another question that somebody asked about the licensing and pricing rules. And so we're not going to be discussing any licensing or pricing today, but I would encourage you to reach out to your Appian representative, so your account representative, to point out if anybody has any additional questions that we're not able to get to today. Again, please feel free to reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to have some separate, more catered conversations to be able to address and to allow you to ask as many questions as you would like. We're really excited about the opportunity to provide this functionality to our customer base, and we would be eager to be able to address and answer any questions that anybody does have. I do believe that takes us to the top of the hour, so I'll go ahead and turn it over to the moderator. But before I do that, I want to thank everyone for attending today.
Thank you, Stephanie. This concludes our presentation. Thank you, everyone, for attending, and have a great day.